Okay, the NRLW Grand Final has just concluded. The Roosters held on against the Sharks 32 points to 28. It was 24-0 at half time to the Roosters. Now, in the NRLW, the Roosters have never lost a game leading by more than 6 points at half time. Less than six they have, but more than six they haven't. And they nearly made history for all the wrong reasons in a grand final because they're 24-0 up at half time. They are cruising, 5 tries unanswered. The only blemish for the Roosters was their goal kicking. They missed a few conversions. Other than that, they dominated the intensity, the pace of the game management, and the kicking game was proving problems for the Sharks. They just couldn't diffuse the kicks, basically. Their back three couldn't catch a bar of soap, let alone a rugby league ball. But what was very interesting is the way the Sharks responded, and their points per minute ratio was higher. The way they responded in that second half, scoring 28 points, their points per minute was higher than what the Roosters done in the first 35 minutes. Now, the Roosters managed to get a penalty goal and a converted try in the second half, so they managed to score 8 points, which was crucial because the way it was going, they were going to lose that game from a winning position. It really was a tale of two halves. The Sharks just left themselves with an uphill battle with all the mistakes they made in the first half and the fact they gave up 5 tries in the first half. The Roosters, I don't know what happened. Their defensive intensity just disappeared, their organisation disappeared, and their energy levels disappeared. And then the mistakes came and they looked all over the place. Real tale of two halves. So the Sharks were poor in the first half. Apart from maybe the first 5 to 10 minutes, it was pretty even, and then they just fell apart. But then the Roosters completely just disintegrated in the second half. They could not cope with the speed of the play and the unstructured style of play the Sharks decided to implement, which is what they did against Brisbane. And I think the Roosters got a bit lucky, a bit lucky in the second half. They did manage to get a try and a penalty, so there was enough of a momentum swing at times for them to arrest the avalanche of points they were conceding. But the Sharks just left themselves too much to do. They started slowly, left themselves too much to do. But it was a very entertaining grand final, very similar to last year between Newcastle and Gold Coast. A very similar grand final in the sense that one side was leading and then the other side come back and nearly take it. But all in all, a pretty entertaining game. A great footnote to the men's grand final, the NRL grand final that's coming up in just over an hour's time as I'm recording this video. The Sharks Panthers, I think that's going to be a similarly close game. I think it may play out like 2020, like this grand final basically played out like the men's 2020 grand final, where one side races to a big lead at half time and in the second half the other team charge back but can't quite get over the line right at the end. So sort of parallels there. But the conditions, now this is what I think is crucial. I think both the Storm and the Panthers would have seen the conditions. Dry, warm, with a slight swirling breeze. And that swirling breeze in the first half didn't help the Sharks, even though they had the wind at their backs. They could not cope with the kicking game. But the playing surface is playing quite well. It's a nice, dry, flat track. Some of the kicks going dead from far out in open play, so there is a fair bit of bounce in the surface. I think the wind, if it continues to pick up, may have a part to play in the open play kicking game that we're going to see between the Storm and the Panthers in due course. That could be the only real concern, I would say, condition wise. Otherwise, dry and warm. Maybe the temperature and the heat and the humidity may have a slight impact on the intensity of the men's game. It definitely had an impact on the intensity of the women's game. I think the Roosters put everything into that first half. Second half, they were out on their feet. The Sharks upped the intensity but left themselves a little bit too much to do. And, giving away a silly penalty right in front of the posts and then, unfortunately, giving away that try was frustrating considering how they actually scored more points in the second half than the Roosters did in the first half. So on another day, the Sharks win that grand final. I think overall, the slightly better team overall wins the game, but they got lucky and game management. But this sets us up for the men. Firstly, for the men's grand final, the NRL grand final shortly, And then the end of season test matches, the Pacific Championship, and the you know it's just the intensity level. They get a week off, and then we go into the test match season. Really looking forward to that as well. But the Roosters win their second premiership at their second attempt, having won in 2021. The Sharks, that was their first attempt at trying to win a grand final. I have no doubt that the way the Sharks have built over the 2 years, that they will be a pretty strong force in the NRLW going forward. Recruitment's going to be key. They have got some outgoing players who are going to other teams for next season, but recruitment will be key. But the way their style of play, the way they attack, and the energy levels that they put into games, I think they're going to be a fun team to watch next season as well. So recruitment's going to be key for them. But there we go. The Roosters hold on to win 32 points to 28. Thrilling game, thrilling second half, right down to the wire, right nail biter, went down to the final minute, which is kind of what you want to see as a fan of the game. So there we go. Thank you very much for watching, and now we've got the men's grand final coming up. But from me for now, thank you very much for watching, and I'll have some more content for you guys very, very soon.